So let's look at a very basic a basic web application test. So Google is something that we use in a very regular and day-to-day life, right? So let's see how we can check a basic interaction with Google. So the first step you will do is open your browser. You open Google URL in it, or like by default if it's set, it will open the Google page as soon you open your browser. And in the Selenium side, to do this activity, what you will do is you will write two code. One is you will create a Selenium WebDriver object, and by using this Java, in Java you do this, you create an object using WebDriver class, WebDriver interface, and you create an object. So when you say WebDriver driver, you're creating an object of type WebDriver, and in the right side you can see you are using new keyword in Java, and again calling the constructor of Chrome driver class. So if you want to create an object of Chrome driver, a Selenium Chrome driver, you use the class name Chrome driver and use the keyword and create an object. So you create an object over here and initialize it, and then you take that object and keep it in a variable called driver. So you have to have a bit of give a bit of importance here. So you are creating an object of WebDriver interface and initializing an object of Chrome driver implementation and keeping that object inside the driver variable. And with this driver variable, you can call any of those Selenium WebDriver functions, the commands, and make your browser do whatever you want to do. So here what I'm doing is I create an object of WebDriver, Chrome driver. The moment I do this creation of object, Selenium, what it does is it creates that particular browser's object, Selenium object, and it starts a session. The moment you get a session, you will not see the URL open inside the browser. You will just see the browser created without any URL in there. So that is the initial state, creating an object, creating a session of the browser. So every time you start running Selenium, first thing it does is create a Selenium session. Okay, everything is a session. Every single run in a Selenium program is a session. So first you get that session started, and every next time when you send a request, a command to the Selenium server, it is executed inside that particular session. The moment your Selenium session ends, that particular navigation stops, the browser closes, everything is done, and you will get the result. Okay, so first thing, as I said, again I'm repeating because it's very important, you create a Selenium object and thereby you create the Selenium session. From then onwards you can use the driver object, and using the dot command, the period, you can type in whatever function you want. Get is one of the function, then you have click, you have so many such commands that you will see as we progress through the sessions. So you can use any of those commands, make a request. So in this particular case, what we need Selenium to do is open the URL http www.google.com in your browser. So you're sending that request from our client. In the client we write the code in your IDE. It could be Eclipse for Java or IntelliJ for Java. JavaScript could be WebStorm or Visual Studio Code, whatever you want to use. So here in Java world, I am using IntelliJ, Java IntelliJ Community Edition. Sometimes I use Eclipse, but mostly I like using IntelliJ, and you can freely use it. And they even allowed me to use IntelliJ IDE for this video tutorials, and it's really good IDE, so I would prefer using it. You can use whatever you want, but it's my preference. Yeah, and you write that code. So basically you write the code in your IDE, and that is a client side. When you execute it, that request gets converted into that into the protocol that Selenium uses, sends to the server. It opens a session, it starts the browser, and it opens that URL as your second step is asking get that URL. Okay, and then once they're done, the next step in the test is we want to type in something. So basically in Google what we do is we search for some value, right? Some text for Selenium or burger or something. We search in the text field, and for that we need to tell our server I want to search something, right? So this is the command for that. Again we use the same driver object, and you use a function that Selenium provides called find element, which lets you find any objects or any elements inside this web page. So this web page is what we interact with, right, in your test, and the whole web page is one single entity, and inside that you have each of these elements. For example, you have an about element, you have a store, you have the Google Gmail link over here, you have another image tab, then you have the Google logo, this field where you can search. So all these are elements in that inside that web page. Technically, this web page in the programming concept is called document object model. So it's a document, basically it's a document, and it's the model that runs in the backend in a web page is called document object model. Okay, it's called DOM in abbreviation, and it's the DOM that you basically interact. When you say Selenium is interacting with the web page, it's actually interacting with the document object model, the actual program that runs in the backend. It's an object again in the programming world, and we're interacting with the document object model. Inside the DOM, we have each of these elements, which are the components inside that web page. So as Selenium is a web tool, it can interact with the document object model in a web application and select any of the elements or play with the elements. And when you are calling Selenium and telling it to do something in the page, we actually have to be a bit more technical so that the computer can understand, the programmer can understand what you're saying. And we use selectors, which actually let Selenium select elements inside the page and interact with it. And we can use different techniques for that. One of the technique is called Css Selector. So in Selenium, here I am calling the function find element to find an element, and inside that function you can see like there is a curly opening, there is a bracket opening here, and that bracket ends here. Inside that bracket I'm telling how should Selenium find that element. One of the technique, so the technique to find an element, a locator in a web application for a particular element is around 7 different types of locating technique. One is by.css. This is again another class that Selenium provides. By gives you the type by which you can select a locator. So you have by ID, you have by XPath, by CSS selectors, by name, by link text. A lot of things are there. We will first see a very basic one. It's called CSS Selector. It's again another selector, like a programming language. You can tell it, so this field is an input field and the name of that input field is Q. So it's telling use find an input element inside this page with the name Q. If you find that, then you call another function and send some value. So dot send keys is another function which sends some value, some text into that field you found by WebDriver.findElement function by passing a locating technique with a locator. And then once you find that object, that particular element, you send some value into it. In this case, I want to send the text Selenium, so I'm saying inside that function you pass Selenium. So here when I do this, write this command in my program, and that is a client, and sends at the Selenium WebDriver, it takes a request and types in find the locator using the technique I asked it to use, and sends that values in. Okay, so type in that value into that particular field. Once that is done, then you have the third step, that is the final step, the actual assertion, where you do the test. So basically we reach this page. Now what I need to do is I need to check whether the search in the Google page worked or not, right? To make sure like it has worked, it is working, that particular search has been done and the result has come back. What I will do normally as a normal tester is I will check whether there is a proper result that I can look for. So in this results page, a very basic thing I can check is if there is some result that came with Selenium in it, and I can pick up any of the tile over here. This is a tile, this is another tile, this is another tile. I will pick up the first tile and I will check whether this particular text is coming or not. If that text comes, I know that it did the search, right? So open the URL, loaded the browser, loaded the Google page, put in Selenium, clicked on the go search button, and I come to this page and I see whether that particular result is not there or not. So to find the result again and get that, so it's a string that is the result, right? This is a text result. So what I will do is I will use another Selenium command, driver.findElement. Again I'm going to find the location of this element, by using again another CSS selector. And here in the CSS, by the CSS selector, I am passing the locator for this particular element, particular string. So this is the locator. I am using an ID, another ID, inside that another ID. Then I am asking to take this an h3 header. I am asking to get the header and get the text of that locator. So here I will get the text. Actually this text I will get. I am saving that to another variable called string, actual first result. So it's an actual result, right? Once we execute the program. So I am saving to that variable. Once that variable is available in my hand, I will call the assertions library. So this is the API set JUnit 5 assertions library. I'm using that class, the static class it is. I'm calling a function called assert equals, and I'm passing the actual this is the expected, right? I know that this is going to be in the result, so I already took this before the execution. I pasted over here, and I'm taking this argument, this variable as a second argument, passing the second argument to the assertion function. It compares this text with my value that I got in my program and see whether they are same. If they are same, that means my test is passed. So that's how basically I write the Selenium test. So first we'll go back. First I will create a session, then I will send some command to Selenium Webdriver to open the URL. Then I will put in the value Selenium into that field. I click on this button. I haven't written the program here, but I'll have another function to another command to click on this Google search button. Once it's done, it will come to the result page, and here in the result page I will verify my actual test. That is, I will assert whether the result I got over here is the same as the result I was expecting. If they are not same, basically my test is failed. So that is how we will do. In the next video we will see how we can automate this by writing a program in creating a project and writing a program and doing a simple Selenium test, and also how to set up Selenium in your application. Thank you. That's from me.